Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Putin? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a while. That was 2 days ago. Now it's scorching. Last night was -13 though. Well, we've all got COVID again. Member COVID? Member? That seems to have gone poof. I've been in half a mind about making another video because of the current situation. But some of you have convinced me to do so. Big shout out to Letty and her boys. Merlin and Oscar. Keep in there, lads. This morning, Russia fired 6 missiles at the town of Yanoviv, just over the Polish border. That's 90 miles from where I live. 6 missiles. It's less than 15 miles from the Polish border. That's really scary. Russia has opened up the western front past Lvov or Lviv, and it's getting dangerously close. For those of you who've been following my videos, every single thing I predicted at the end of last year has come to fruition. Every single thing. Tuesday, 22nd of February 2022, Putin declared he would be invading Donbass and Luhansk. The invasion started 2 days later, but it was the 22nd when he said in his parliament he was going to do it. Fuel prices have skyrocketed. We're now at record levels for petrol or gas, diesel, gas prices, energy prices. All of these I predicted. Although, to be honest, I didn't predict them quite as high as they are. Food shortages and food price hikes I also predicted. And as we can see, this year is going to be quite horrific. To give you an example of just how bad it is going to get, Ukraine is one of the largest agricultural markets or agricultural producers in the world. 48% of the world's sunflower oil is produced in Ukraine. 48%. And that's just one single product. The other major thing I predicted was the refugee situation. And I said it again and again in my videos. My biggest concern about Russia invading Ukraine would be like a humanitarian crisis concerning refugees. In the last 2 weeks, which is how long the war has been going, 2.5 million have fled Ukraine into Western Europe. 2.5 million. 80% of those are Ukrainian. Slovakia has had 170,000 people enter the country, which is the sum total of Romania and Moldova refugees combined, but for some reason it just doesn't make the news. We're a tiny country and we are being flooded with refugees. The refugee situation is of my biggest concern. When this first started and people began coming across the border, lots of locals volunteered to supply them with food or drinks, to put them up in their homes. There was a big adrenaline rush to help people. 2 weeks later and 2.5 million people later, local people and local volunteers are starting to say, we can't do this on our own. At this point, it has to be United Nations level. This is massive. This is just an insane number of refugees, and this is only 2 weeks in. If this war goes on, the numbers will climb way past the 5 million they predicted. What makes me angry is local people are going to the big German supermarkets to buy food and drink and bedding to give to these Ukraine refugees. Why aren't the supermarkets helping in this cause? Why aren't they giving some of their stock? I'm also sick of seeing that some Russian oligarch's luxury yacht was confiscated, or his football club or his properties were confiscated, and then see these same governments who confiscated them say they're going to be supplying Ukraine with more weapons. Now, fantastic, you're helping the Ukraine army, but what about the millions of refugees? How about selling some of these Russian assets and supplying the refugees coming through with food and accommodation? Because this is a long-term thing. Even if the war finished tomorrow, many areas will not be repaired for years. Where are these people going to live, especially little children? This needs to be dealt with really, really quickly and on a global scale. It's a sanction, which ultimately will backfire on us normal people in the West. It just means our prices will go higher, or there'll be less availability of products. How about dealing with the refugee situation? These people, the Ukraine people, need our help. We're also getting all the asylum seekers who are backlogged in Ukraine. We've seen them in our local town. This needs dealing with. It's one thing to focus on the war effort, but you have the humanitarian effort side by side, and at the moment that is really pressing. The countries of Central Eastern Europe are not rich, especially along the border. Maybe in the cities they do better, but along the border these aren't wealthy areas. The people here need support financially. They need motivation to keep doing this. Everybody feels for the Ukrainians, but locals need some big government or big global intervention to start doing something. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know if Putin plans to continue further westward or into the Balkans. Only time will tell. It also depends on the West's reaction, how far we want to go in this. For now, my main concern is about the coming year, about food, fuel, heating, energy. Are we going to be able to afford to live? It was bad enough before the Ukraine crisis started. Now it's looking dire. Are we going to be able to drive to work? Are we going to be able to heat our homes? And this is something everybody's going to start feeling, especially those who live just over the breadline. It only takes a few increases in bills and suddenly they're in the poverty sector. We need to think about this as well. Governments need to think about this. One thing that is really making me angry is about alternative energy. Now we can't shut off the gas from Russia or the oil because we don't have an alternative energy source to replace it. For many years we've had all these incentives and funds to invest in solar power and hydropower and wind power. Please show me where that money went, because now I think we are seeing that money just disappeared. It was pointless, because there's no way we can rely on alternative energy. Not yet. All that money went into different pockets, and now we need it. Where is it? You know, it's one thing to keep harping on about climate change, and we need to get rid of fossil fuel energy, and we need to get rid of this, and we need to implement this. Please show me where all the billions and billions of euros, dollars, pounds went when we actually need it. I'll try and keep you updated as and when, but it is a very delicate situation at the moment. Really think about prepping like I've told you. Really. Get your basic food staples in now before, one, they become too expensive, and second, you get panic buying and they're no longer available. Slovakia 2 days ago actually put a block on 15 basic food staples to stop exorbitant price rises. Whether that will do anything when international corporations own the supermarkets, I don't know. But it was a step in the right direction. Things like, flour, chicken, pork, rice, pasta, oils, these things are going to be very, very hard to get hold of, and they're going to become very expensive. Let me know how you're prepping and where you see this going. We're in this together. As always, be free.